Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. I'm your host, Dr. David Oualaalou, here. Very, very excited to be with you. This is my last week here before I head out to Asia. Yes, indeed. I am going to be leaving soon. So, I wanted to address this topic for you here regarding, once again, the Ansarullah or Houthis are coming to the forefront regarding events around the world. So, I'm going to be addressing for you really the objectives of why Israel, why first of all Houthis attacked again Israel, and Israel responded by sending 14 fighter jets, but the 14 fighter jets, not all of them got involved in whatever attacks or sort of the airstrikes they conducted. So this is what I'm going to be providing you my analysis about. Make sure to stay till the end because I'm going to share something with you about my upcoming Asia trip. I have a surprise for you regarding really a major event that took place regarding that issue. So let me first say hi to our wonderful community before I start anything here. Speed and Touch, good to see you. Oh, hi from New York City. I'm looking forward to hearing this. Good to have you here. Good to have you here. Leanne, good to see you as always. Willie Holman Jr. You changed to the sort of the screen name setting. Good to see you here as always. Farnad Lape, good to see you. Hello, everybody from Quebec. Good to have you from Canada, or Quebec, that is. Say it like it is. Good to see you. And once again, much appreciate you for your last super sticker. Thank you so much for your generosity. American Citizen X, good to see you. YYTT, good to see you and good morning to you. Lock 1917, this is a good friend of mine. I know who he is. Good to have you here, as always. Sank Brewery, good to see you. Taiwan Still, as always. That's another good friend of mine. And Julius is here. I communicate with most of the time here. All right, guys, let me, Kamas 625. Once again, we got more Canadians here, so good to see you here. And another one from Canada, Tokyo Homes from Canada. Wow, we have a lot of Canadians here. So anyway, let me, I got to clean up my reading glasses here. So let me just share some housekeeping items with you here. This will be my last live stream for the week here, because I will be leaving soon I will be doing live streams for you from whatever locations I'm going to be at. Though it depends how things are going to go, but I certainly will communicate with you from whatever I'm going to be. So also we have like few more days left for those who wanted to support the upcoming Asia trip. But as I said, I am going to be sharing with you later on. Here is where we are, given what just happened yesterday or the day before. Some major donor supported the trip. So I'm going to talk about it at the end. So because you know me, all about transparency here, and it's only making more sense to share this with you. So, all right, I'm going to start today by sharing three main headlines which tied to what I'm going to be talking about, except for one particular one. Well, the first one has to do with this particular conference or summit or whatever you want to call it, which is nothing but a photo op, no more, no less. What are you looking at? You're looking at a DOIC, which is the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. This one is discussing the Israeli genocide in Gaza and unifies possessions. You all know. By the way, it was held in the city of Jeddah. So it just, as a matter of fact, it's held today. So which is nighttime. It's already been. Maybe they have 2 more days, which is nothing but a show, no more, no less. We all found out how mainly the Sunni Muslims are pathetic, incompetent, spineless, useless. And just there's no other word to describe it. So when you see a summit in Jeddah, well, why in Jeddah? Because Saudi Arabia is the one that controls the OIC. I wrote about it in my Saudi book. It's all about controlling the narrative. Saudis or the Jordanians or the Egyptians, they don't care about what's going on in Gaza. And this is why I wanted to highlight to you, when you hear them saying, oh, we're going to discuss the Israeli genocide and all that, it's nothing but hypes, no more, no less. Don't expect anything from the pathetic Sunni Muslims. At least you see in the Shia, mainly in Yemen and Iran, did something the rest of the Muslim world couldn't. So, and within the same line, my second headline has to do with this one, another pathetic one. You all know who this is, right? This one, another one. King Jordan reiterated rejection of the occupation of Gaza and the expansion of settlements in the West Bank. Oh, come on, man. Stop being pathetic. The King of Jordan affirmed yesterday his country's rejection of Israel's plans to occupy Gaza Strip and expand settlements in West Bank, stressing the need for a ceasefire and the delivery of adequate humanitarian aid to Gaza. How much can we hear about that? We heard the same from Egypt. We heard the same from Turkey. I mean, you all know. It's just nothing but, as a matter of fact, in this conversation, I am going to show you a map and ask you one specific questions pertaining to Israeli airstrikes, and I'll let you reach your own conclusion. I'm not going to say it for you. I'm going to say it to you because you're smart enough to know, and I'm going to share this with you. And the last thing I want to share with you as a headline is the upcoming visit of the South Korean president. This is, what's his name? Let me get his name. This is Lee Jae-myung. I hope I pronounced it correctly. My apologies for Korean speakers. So he's coming to Washington. Why is this important? It is important because one of the key issues that's going to be addressed, and I might do a live stream for you when I'm overseas, but we'll see. That has to do with the status of the U.S. forces. Of course, the South Korean president has some sort of reservation regarding granting the American forces authority on its territory. Well, wait a minute. Why haven't you done this, let's say, a decade ago, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago? All of a sudden, you're doing it now. And second question is, will it work? I have my doubts. So, and this is why South Korean President Lee Jae-myung preempted his talk with his counterpart, the Donald Trump. So in Washington today, as a matter of fact, the meeting today in Washington. Why? By acknowledging, he wanted to get a step ahead by sort of setting up the narrative, because he's acknowledging the difficulties of meeting the U.S. administration's request for flexibility. So for the operations of the U.S. forces stations in the country. Why is this important for you? You have to think about it from a regional security aspects of it. And the reason for that, the reason for why this term is going to be coming up a lot, the term, remember that, flexibility. Why? Because from the U.S. perspective, and when I think deep about it, you kind of, because I have to tie it to one statement by the Secretary of Defense, which I will get into. But when you think about flexibility from the American perspective, it means that U.S. forces, here's the key that I need you to understand, can adjust their location, okay, their training, their movements without strict restrictions from the South Korean government. So, well, of course, this, if you are a South Korean, you're going to say to yourself, hold on a second. This is raising eyebrows as to sort of a forces that is staying in our country will be able to do whatever he wants, adjust his training whenever it suits it, and move weapons, whatever type of weapons, without the knowledge of the South Korean government. So, and this basically amounts to what? Which, by the way, some politicians inside Seoul, the capital of South Korea, are raising concern about the sovereignty over their territory. And rightly so. And I will apply this to Japan, and I will apply this to Philippines and of course to Australia. But why is this important? And I wanted to share this with you because you need to understand. A statement by the Secretary of Defense stated that and I'm paraphrasing, the United States is going to have now to review the laws pertaining to freedom of navigation in the South China Sea. Now read between the lines. Read between the lines. What is the statement of Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, aiming at? And tie it to what the South Koreans and the request by the United States to allow flexibility in South Korea. Of course, Philippines won't be able to say a word about it, and Japan won't be able to say a word about it. Australia is a foregone case anyway. And when you put the statements of Pete Hegseth regarding a review of the laws pertaining to the freedom of navigation, we all know what it means. Even for India, which, by the way, I saw some channels that they are claiming to be geopolitical analysts and nonsense. This is nonsense. With due respect, I push back when things don't make sense because they are misleading their viewers. When you hear about, India, China, power block, what power block are we talking about here? It's nonsense. So it behooves those hosts of those channels to really think twice before they state arguments or statements that have no basis in reality. And again, no offense to anybody here, but again, when I see some I won't call it misinformation. No, it's not. It's just a lack of understanding the depth of what's going on for them to state issues like that. This is what concerned me the most about our community. I don't care about others. I want you to be careful about what you are watching and listening to. Like I said again, so many claiming to be geopolitical analysts. Come on, where are the credentials? You're free to say whatever, but when you start just saying nonsense, when I saw that yesterday, I was like, I just shook my head. India, China, power block. No, there will be no power block. First of all, because India is not gonna be able to reach that level of entering into some sort of strong ties or partnership or strategic partnership, whatever term you want to use, with India. It's unlike with Russia. Those are different. We can't compare India to Russia when it comes down to a relationship with China. And I'm going to be in a neighborhood and I'm going to be talking to some very, very influential people that deal with this kind of issues, and I will share the information with you. Suffice it to say, pay close attention to what you are watching out there. Anyway, let's get into our analysis about today's regarding the Israeli strikes on Yemen. They can be bombing Yemen all they want. One thing is sure is that the Houthis or Ansarullah are not going to retreat no matter what, which shows courage, literally. I mean, look at the pathetic Sunni Muslim, what a world that is, or government. What have they done? Nothing whatsoever. So what I want to talk to you today about is highlighting to you, first of all, what are the objective of Israel from these strikes? And second, is now a fait accompli that Yemen, or the Houthis for that matter, or Ansarullah that is, sort of succeeded in wooing Israel into a trap. Because what Yemen to Israel, in my opinion, and please correct me if I'm wrong, what Yemen to Israel is what Vietnam was to the United States. Will I be wrong in this assessment or comparison to a degree? And this is the way I see it. The Yemeni, the Houthis, or Ansarullah, were able to woo the Israelis into this trap because the US realized this and pulled back. You know that now Israel is on its own. That's why any statements coming out of its military headquarters always have the word allies attached to it. That's for a reason. It's for a reason, because they know Israel ended up being on its own on this one here. That's why the US sort of pulled back after we conducted the strikes on the Houthis and realized, no, you're not going to defeat them, because the blockade on the Red Sea still persists as of today. And this is what I'm saying. It looks like Yemen, once again, is returning to the forefront of the global events, and this following the Israeli bombing that targeted civilian facilities in Sanaa. But you're going to ask yourself, why the heck did Israel do that? Well, Israel did it because the Houthis also attacked Ben Gurion. I'm going to share a clip with you that wasn't circulating openly. I'm going to share a clip with you about just the idea, and I'm going to show you. I'll show you the date when it was released, so this way you know. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Let me share the screen, and you'll see with your own eyes. Full screen. Okay. Take a look at this particular. I'm going to highlight this one here on the date. That's the date, August 25th. So, and the panic that has been creating, of course, this one is did for the last 48 hours is highlighting how much now people are concerned. How much people are concerned and leaving Israel. So this is one of the reasons why Benjamin Netanyahu had to do something, because they are seeing, oh, people are leaving Israel. And on the other hand, he doesn't respond to this because he's finding himself alone on this one. And that is what's important. So what the Israelis have announced is that 14 fighter jets bombed Sanaa with 40 missiles. Okay? And this one, of course, the areas that targeted, I remember because I spent a lot of time in Sanaa, so I was familiar with the streets and boulevard and all that. There is one main boulevard, Sharia Sittin, to those who speak Arabic know, the 60 streets, or it goes street or boulevard. It's a main one, main road. Well, Israel targeted that one, of course, and also targeted the presidential palace, which the presidential palace, which they have not done before. And by the way, Ansarullah themselves. Okay, I don't know what happened to Ansarullah themselves have kind of confirmed that indeed the Israelis targeted fuel depots and 2 power stations in the capitals. So it tells you an idea. The Houthis or Ansarullah are not lying. They are confirming that they have been attacked. To those who say, oh, the Houthis are lying or they just make up things. No, they don't. They don't. No. And once again, as one who spent time on the ground, it was tough dealing with Ansarullah back then. And we couldn't defeat them, period. So let's just call a spade a spade. So, and what was information about this is that the idea of why Israel will do this one here. Well, of course, the Israelis said that its Air Force, with the intelligence guidance, makes you wonder where that intelligence came from. So, of course, we know is the US will be part of that. Targeted now, starting to target in military infrastructure belonging to the Ansarullah in Sanaa. Sanaa is the capital of Yemen. Here is what the statement said by the Israeli army headquarters. It says, and I quote, "We targeted a military complex that includes the presidential palace, 2 power stations, and fuel storage site used for military activities." End of quote. Yeah, once again, the Houthis are not denying this. They have been attacked. But this is not where the issue is. In addition to this, raids by Israel came in response to the Houthis launching missiles at Ben Gurion area. And what's interesting about this one here is that the type of ammunition that the Houthis are deploying this time. In other words, there is an upgrade into the military hardware the Houthis are using. So, of course, the Israelis will say, well, we have targeted the military complex from which the Houthis' activities are directed. No, come on. Once again, as one who's been on the ground, despite our satellites and all that stuff, we couldn't. Let's just be honest about it. We couldn't pinpoint exactly where they were. Yemen is another rugged terrain, especially when you step outside Sanaa. All you see is mountains and you have no idea. It's no different than what it was in Afghanistan. It just, or even Iran for that matter. So those are rugged terrains, and the ability of building tunnels and caves and so forth is part of whatever is going on there. So for them to claim we've targeted the military installations, I just won't buy that. But that's me. So, and here is the idea that I need you to understand about this particular aspect. Of course, the Israelis are saying we vow to continue to act forcefully against the Houthis regime, the repeated aggressive attacks. End of quote. Well, first of all, Houthis still, or Ansarullah, still stand by their conviction. And you know what is this conviction regarding the request? They are saying to the Israelis, if you want us to stop, you need to do two things. Stop your aggression in Gaza and allow aid to get in. Simple, At least they have the gut. That's to me what they have the gut to say it, unlike the rest of the Sunni, pathetic Muslim world. Yeah, you meeting in Jeddah, meeting in Saudi Arabia. For what? Or having the king issuing statements. For what? Or having the Egyptian president saying, well, we're going to talk to the Israelis to allow aid. No. It's all hypes. They all work for the US and Israel. Simple as that. Of course, the Gulf states in West Asia, they are concerned about their survival. That includes Jordan also, because all about is their survival of the monarchy. No more, no less. So. And this is where you start to see, speaking of Saudi Arabia, as I argued, pertain to Yemen, even back then, I argued that both Israel and Saudi Arabia, to some degree, are behind the strong opposition of the US Congress to Iran's nuclear deal for two main reasons. One is that Israel worries that lifting sanctions against Iran paves the way for the latter to increase its military and economic support for groups such as Hezbollah and the Houthis. And two, Saudi Arabia fears the expansion of an Iranian sphere of influence that may decrease Saudi Arabia's religious dominance in the Muslim world. This is what's at the heart of it. They care less about them, and in Saudi Arabia in this case, care less, and Jordan and Egypt, they care less about what's going on in Gaza. So that is what's important to understand about this aspect. Liking this video so far? Don't just be a watcher. Go ahead and hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And don't forget to tap the bell so you will not miss any of my videos or live streams. This way, you will be supporting a channel that stands for the truth and objective reporting. The choice is yours. Thanks for your support. Indeed. And if you have not subscribed, please do so. I will greatly appreciate it. And thank you for that. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm going to show you a map, and I'm going to mention something, and I want you to reach the conclusion, because I know you can. Here is the map. Look where Israel is. And by the way, it's Tel Aviv. It's not Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not the capital. It's Tel Aviv. Still, only the US that recognizes that. But it's Tel Aviv. Majority of countries recognize Tel Aviv. Here is Sanaa. Now look at this map, okay? Now, I'm going to leave the map on so you see. When you think about this, Israel, there were 14 fighter jets, including F-15s and F-35s, okay? Now, those those fighter jets will require, and make no mistakes about it, will require mid-air refueling. So where do you think that mid-air refueling is going to happen? Look at the map. You know what's the countries they are? You know, they are Jordan here. There's Egypt on this side here. Okay? Look at this map and tell me. And keep in mind, there's Saudi Arabia, of course. This is Saudi Arabia right here. And remember, this is the Red Sea. And of course, nobody can go in a Red Sea right now because the Houthis or Ansarullah are still maintaining blockades. So that leads me to ask you the question. Which countries, in your opinion, there will only be two for me. It will only be two that will allow refueling on their airspace. What are those two countries, if you happen to know? Once again, look at the map. I don't have the, actually, I might have a map with the name of the countries. Let me show you right there. Look at the map. In your opinion, what are the two countries that will allow the mid-air fueling or refueling? Okay, let me see, because I want to share. Oh, the house drummer, Greece. The possibility this, Cyprus. The possibility is there. YTT, Jordan and KSA. I'm sorry, I got the wrong one right here. Jordan and KSA. Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. That is correct. Iranian, Saudis, Jordan and Saudis, Seymour, Revolt, Qatar and Turkey. That is a good alternative. That is a good alternative. Qatar and Turkey could play that role also. But suffice it to say, and that doesn't mean those who answer those are wrong. No, there is no wrong here. It's just for me, when I look at the map, it will make more sense to consider Jordan and consider Saudi Arabia. That's just my, that doesn't mean Turkey will not be able to do it, or Greece for that matter, or Cyprus. So Iraq is out of question. So Oman is out of question. And why Qatar? Because you have Al Ubaid US base or over there, and most likely there will be a coordination with the Israelis Air Force to do so. So this is what I need you to understand, the importance of when some Sunni countries are saying, you know, God, we have to stand with our brothers and all that. It's not in barhypes. It's in action that matters, you know. And the Houthis or Ansarullah have showed and still showing, because if there is one reality Tel Aviv will have to come to grip with, and that reality is you are not going to intimidate the Houthis. They are not backing down unless those two main conditions are met. Stop the aggression in Gaza and allow aid into. Since day one, when they mentioned this, that's all they're still holding up to. You know, that is one of the reasons why they went ahead and attack Ben Gurion once again. They've been attacking Ben Gurion forever. So, and yeah, once again. So, and that is why when you have the Israelis responding in this way, this is thinking in terms of, oh, we're going to try to see how we could influence the outcome. So, because here is the thing I need you to understand, is that Ansarullah or Houthis will continue to fight no matter what. And this, despite the bombing or the airstrikes by the Israel, and to a degree the US behind the scenes, you know, we did the same. We did the same. And I remember, and I wrote articles about it, that we were the ones providing the Saudis with intelligence targets when they were conducting their operations against the Houthis in Yemen. Remember, it was Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, and 5 other Arab nations, including Morocco, Jordan, Egypt, and I couldn't remember the last one. Morocco withdrew later on after it became known, and the other countries supported the Saudis in return for money. Of course, they had to do. But we were the one providing the intelligence targets, and the Saudis couldn't do it. And even with that, even with all that, they couldn't defeat the Houthis or Ansarullah. They were weapons from Germany, they were weapons from the UK, they were weapons from France, all funneled into the theater. Of course, for us, it's a given. The Saudis will buy whatever. So, and this is why I'm saying again, watch what they say, watch what they do. I'm sorry, not what they say. So Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, was right. Watch what a man does, not what he says. And this is the harsh reality that Israel is still not coming to grip with, is that they won't be able to defeat the Houthis, and the Houthis will not be intimidated by the bombings and so forth. Because if there is one thing you have learned, at least from the live streams that I've been sharing with you regarding this particular topic, is that the Houthis are true to their words. So because remember, the Israeli strike before the Hodeidah, the port of Hodeidah, which is a major port there. They struck Sanaa so many times, the airport there. They struck whatever, the civilian locations and so forth. And this has not changed the calculus for the Houthis, no matter what. No matter what. Because Houthis are not the Jordanians, are not the Saudis, are not the United Arab Emirates, or the Egyptians for that matters. Even Iraq now is coming to grip with the reality as to how its territory has been used. So, and why the US force is still there is beyond me. So now they're starting to get the ball rolling. The question is whether the Prime Minister of Iraq, Mr. Soudani, will have the gut to say enough is enough. Here is the hard date. We want you out by this date. I don't know. I doubt it. I have my doubts. But also because we control the oil revenues for Iraq, that we have them in an account in New York. So, but here is one other thing that I need you to understand also, why all of a sudden I'm saying the Houthis or Ansarullah are coming to the forefront of global events. It's not because they just attacked Ben Gurion. It's not the first one. They conducted a strike there. It's what type of weapons they used. This is what's important to understand. And what's important is the last missile the Houthis used targeting Ben Gurion. It has some new capabilities. And those new capabilities include the submunition. What do I mean by submunition? Submunition is a small weapon or device that is a part of a larger warhead, and usually that one separates from it prior to impact. And this is what the key to highlight to you, that the Houthis already put in their minds and their strategic calculus that since some of our missiles now are intercepted, we're gonna be creative. How we're gonna be creative is we're gonna add some new capabilities that include submunition in their missiles. And that was why this change for this possibility is because their rational thinking suggests that even if their missiles are intercepted, even some shrapnel, some whatever, some sort of, which includes the submunition, will explode upon impact. That's their thinking. And the Israelis didn't count on this. And that leads me to talk about the objective of why Israelis conducted the main strikes here. But before I'll do this, I'm going to share a clip with you. I'll do the translation for you as briefly as I can because it's a long one. I'm going to just focus on some key aspects that I need you to understand. So let me share the screen with you, and I'll do a translation for you. All right. share screen. Here we go. Full screen.
وينضم إلينا الآن من صنعاء حزام الأسد.
Okay, with us from Sanaa is Mr. Hizam Al-Assad.
عضو المجلس السياسي لجماعة أنصار
He is a member of the political council of Ansarullah.
الله. سيد حزام، ماذا يمكنك أن تخبرنا من معلومات عن ما نتج عن هذا القصف الإسرائيلي على صنعاء؟
What can you tell us about these recent strikes and the results of the airstrikes by Israel? And by the way, I'm just trying to paraphrase as quickly as possible because it's a long one.
حياكم الله، أحييكم وأحيي السادة المشاهدين الأعزاء.
Greetings to you all.
في الحقيقة كما يعرف الجميع بأن الشعب اليمني يتحرك في هذه المواقف الإسنادية.
As it is known to all that the Yemeni people are standing firm
غزة من منطلقات دينية وأخلاقية.
regarding Gaza, and this support is coming from religious, moral, and humanitarian.
إنسانية، ولذلك العدو الإسرائيلي وكذلك من يقف خلفه أو من
That's why the enemy, the Israel, and to those who are supporting it,
يسانده أو من يغض الطرف عن جرائم.
to those who are supporting it or closing their eyes, turning a blind eye, as we say. You know what he's referring to? He's referring to the pathetic Sunni world.
قائمه في غزة يحاول من خلال هذه العمليات العدوانية محاولة إيقاف هذا الإسناد.
What basically the Israelis are trying to accomplish is to stop the support for Gaza.
والنصرة لأهلنا في غزة سواء على المستوى الشعبي من خلال
either through public support,
الخروج المليوني أو كذلك.
When you see, for example, the million march, which Yemen did, the population of Yemen went out to the street.
ذلك من خلال العمليات العسكرية التي تطال.
Or through the military operations the Houthis are conducting.
العمق الصهيوني وكذلك.
Which target deep inside Israel.
تمنع ملاحته في البحر الأحمر.
In addition to preventing any sailing of cargo ships or on the Red Sea.
العدوان طبعا استهدف مناطق مدنية.
The enemy of course targeted civilian locations.
خدمية حيوية كما هو معتاد بذلك سواء.
As it is always known.
خزانات الوقود في
For example, the oil storage facility.
محطات الكهرباء.
The electric power plant.
خزان وقود في محطات وقود السيارات.
And also the stations where cars are parking. That's for basically gas stations.
وهو بهذا يحاول صناعة انتصار وهمي.
So with this, meaning what Israel is trying to do is to create a false narrative about victory, an illusion of victory.
من خلال تصاعد الأدخنة
and that through the high rising smokes, whatever, because anybody sees smoke usually, which is a human nature, will think, oh my gosh, but no.
سواء للمستوطنين الصهاينة.
And this will be for domestic consumption in Israel.
ليحاول إضفاء أو إحياء النوع من المعنويات لدى.
This way to raise the spirit inside Israel.
هذا الكيان المترنح الذي ترنح في غزة وسيترنح قريب.
And this in me that I couldn't remember the translation for the word tarannah. I'm sorry, but the way I understood it is the one that now the Israeli that is trapped in Gaza is the same in Yemen.
إن شاء الله بالعمليات العسكرية المتصاعدة اليمنية الإسلامية.
And this is why with the operations that the increasing operations of Yemen.
في الحقيقة هو يعكس عن حالة الانهزامية.
This in reality, what's going on reflects the defeat
يكشف عن وجهه القبيح الذي
of the Israel and the what's the word al-qabih, its face is exposed, its ugly face. This is, by the way, it's a Arabic colloquial language, so it's when you say an ugly face, It has a different meaning, not the way you and I
لا
understand.
يستهدف إلا منشآت خدمية حيوية.
Because, and he's repeating this, that is only targeting civilian aspects and so forth. So I'm going to stop right here. It's because it's a little bit long, but we wanted to continue our conversation. Suffice it to say, okay, let me get back to the screen right there. Suffice it to say, in understanding that, like the individual Mr. Assad stated, and I couldn't agree more, is the idea that what Israel trying to do is try to create this illusion of victory through, like, the rising flames, as he mentioned, and the smoke and so forth, in addition to portraying to the Israeli interior domestic in the hope of reviving morale and so forth. And he's spot on. The reality is this, is that Israel is aiming, there are two main goals, in my opinion, if I am to think about this from both geopolitical and security aspects. And the two main objectives for Israel, one is to truly, if they could, to truly stop Ansarullah from attacking Israel. I mean, they wanted to do that. Why? Is because it exposed Israel that is not as strong as it has been claiming. And the rest of the world, when it sees a missile coming launched from Yemen all the way inside Israel, that's just, like I always say, optics matter. The fact that Israel is being attacked by Houthis from Yemen, launching a missile that crosses all this distance and gets over there. So the Iron Dome, all that you'll remember, Dr. Postal, when he explained to us some stuff about the Iron Dome, that, or even the Patriot system, the American Patriots, no, all those stand no chance. So what Israel is hoping to achieve, which I don't see how that's going to be, because they could achieve this goal if they do two things. And those two things is to stop what's going on in Gaza and allow humanitarian aid. Otherwise, Houthis will continue. So the objective for Israel is, as I said, to truly try to stop the Houthis or Ansarullah from attacking. The second one is to try to degrade the Houthis' military capabilities. And this is why you are noticing now they are trying to figure out where they can attack on military installations or locations for the Houthis. Well, that will be stupid. Do you think Houthis will operate, or Ansarullah will operate like the US will have an open base? No, it doesn't work that way. They've learned over time. And if there is one thing about the Houthis I've learned during my years in Yemen, is that they learned the lessons from what took place in Vietnam. Why do you think the Vietnamese defeated the US? And speaking of Vietnam, I will be talking to someone who's been living there for quite a while. I'm going to be inviting him on the channel here soon. So this is what the Houthis have learned over time. It's a powerful force. No Arab countries, 5 of them got together and they couldn't defeat them. They put, literally, and I've said this so many times, and I keep saying it because it's true, they put the Sunni Arab world to shame. So Israel will not be able to achieve these two objectives, to truly stop the Houthis from attacking inside Israel and to degrade Ansarullah's military capabilities. So it's not going to happen. So, of course, all this is reflecting positively on the Houthis, despite what the distraction and so forth. Why? Because they have the public support for what they're doing. Most Yemenis of all stripes, and there are Sunnis there as much as there are Shiites there, all of them, conversion, one thing, is to support Houthis, Ansarullah, in their strikes against Israel, in support of the people in Gaza. So the Houthis also are thinking strategically. They are achieving the goals that they want. One of them is the support base. They have their base that is supporting them inside Yemen. And that it will be at home, in the region, and around the world. Like I said, when a missile is launched from Yemen into Israel, the rest of the world hear about it. Of course, we won't see the images because the military in Israel controls all that, so they don't want the masses to see. Suffice it to say, whatever Israel is doing, it's not going to deter the Ansarullah. So, and that's just it's reality. So, and that is why also when you see in the smokes and Israel sent in 14 planes. And by the way, I forget, it was on the clip. I forget, and I remember because I had to listen to it before that. Out of all the 14 planes, not all of them took parts of the strikes. They were only few. You know why? Because the other ones were harassed by the Houthis Air Force. So there were more strikes were supposed to be planned, but the other ones returned to base. So there were only few that's been involved. And I know this from the statements by the representative, which I know he's not going to lie about this, because he was honest enough to say, yes, we got the Israeli strikes, the presidential palace, the oil storage facilities, and so forth. Other people would not want to claim that, did it? And the same thing they said about the Air Force. So all the 14 fighter jets, F-15s and F-35s. So if you are deploying your F-35s against the Ansarullah, that says the story. This is not victory. It's not victory. So, and you all know how expensive the F-35, even if it operates competently. Let me use the term. So, and this is why when you have Israel targeting, for example, sort of the service facilities, that's not victory. That is a defeat. That is a defeat. It's exactly what's going on in Gaza. I mean, I call spade a spade. Targeting defenseless civilians is not a victory. And shame on my country for its duplicity. Yeah, U.S. we done for. When I say U.S., the U.S. government, not the American people. American people are as frustrated as it can be, but also they are as ignorant as it gets, because they are not willing to devote time to learn about the real issues. And this is again where I see the danger of those who are spreading just information, whatever, to get clicks or views and all that stuff on it. That's not right. So those hosts needs to really do the right thing. Say the right thing, say the truth. Don't exaggerate and don't say things that don't make any sense whatsoever. And this is again, once again, just to reiterate this point, and I'm going to conclude with this one here with an excerpt from one of my books. All what the representative of the Houthis, Mr. Assad, was saying is that we are asking for two things. Israel stop its aggression and lift the siege on Gaza, so to end the starvation and so forth. So otherwise, the Houthis will continue, even, and this is his word, and I quote, even if we find nothing but stones and dust, end of quote. That tells you how much the Ansarullah are willing to go. We experienced that. And as I told you, I was on the ground. There is no way. It's the same arguments I made in Afghanistan in 2002. The moment I got there, what do you think we're going to achieve here? Defeating this group here? There is no way. I said, do you even realize historically all the major powers in history that tried to conquer Afghanistan, they couldn't. Alexander the Great himself tried to go all the way there and find out there is no way. What makes us think with this arrogance that we have these fighter jets and bomber and cluster bombs, we're going to obliterate them? Didn't we say the same about Ansarullah? When Donald Trump said, we're going to obliterate the Houthis. Yeah, right, Trump. So it's the idea that, no, for Israel to be thinking they're going to defeat the Houthis, no. There is no force going to defeat them. They are They are fierce fighters. And I bet you, they have learned the lessons from Vietnam to apply it against the Americans. That's why we withdrew. We didn't leave. We withdrew because we knew. That's why Donald Trump made that statement. Oh, they are fierce fighter. He was trying to butter them up. Those people don't need that kind of stuff. You butter them up and all. They don't need that. They don't care for ego. They don't worry about all that. They fight till the end. And they have now show exactly what they are capable of doing. So unlike the rest of the 22 Sunni Muslim countries in the OIC, the Organization of the Islamic Countries, it's pathetic. A really shame on them. And again, not the people. Let's just distinguish between the people and the government. I mean, if you only know about people in Jordan are pissed with their government, people in Egypt are pissed with their governments. I don't know about the Saudis. Why? Because the Saudis, and I did the research on this, have been taken care of from cradle to death, to grave, if I may use the term. That's why the Saudis using money to silence the masses inside the country. Saudis, poor Saudis are we'll leave it at that for that. So this is again where you have to think about, as an idea, to think in terms of the Israelis thinking that, oh, this is new. Israeli attacks is new from a strategic perspective. No, there is nothing new about it. There is nothing new about it. There's nothing. Because you have been, in this case, Israel, you have been bombing and striking Hudaydah, striking Sanaa, striking airports, striking. And yet, just last week, the Houthis launched a missile into Ben Gurion. So where is this strategic perspective? There is none. The fact is this, is that Israel finds itself alone in this fight. Because the U.S. is not. U.S. will provide, make no mistake about it, we will provide intelligence, we will provide assistance and support and all that. Yes, we will do that. Because you all know who controls Washington. It's not a secret. It's a reality. So, but to say that, the Israeli army now the Israeli military rather is going to now emphasize its strikes to target civilian targets. No, that's not a victory. That is not a victory. That's a defeat. That's a defeat. So here is my conclusion for you. When you think about what is the key question now, international geopolitical analysts and security analysts are asking, even citizens are asking right now, or even been asking for the last few years. And especially because when I wrote the book, remember, I wrote the book during the outcome of the Iran's nuclear agreement, which, by the way, Iran now find out that it was one particular country in Europe was working on setting up a plot to overthrow Ali Khamenei. Yeah, in Europe. Those are the Europeans that they said, oh, we want to negotiate with Iran. But Iran, in my opinion, is making a mistake by opening the door for negotiations, either with the Europeans or with IAEA. As a matter of fact, when I did the survey, 92% said Iran should not have any contact with IAEA anymore, the International Atomic Energy Agency. And rightly so. You can't trust those. And again, I don't quite understand what Mr. Abbas Araghchi, is the foreign minister, what is he thinking? I just don't understand the logic on this. But again, they are in charge, they'll decide. So the question that international security analysts were asking, as I argued in my Iran book, is this. Will the nuclear deal bring Iran out of its isolation and allow it to integrate into the international community? Or will Iran continue to be a pariah? we are not in a position to answer these questions at this time. That said, Iran's support for Assad regime at that time in Syria and non-state actors like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Houthis in Yemen will continue whether or not it reaches an agreement over its nuclear program. And that's exactly what is happening. Of course, the case has changed in Syria, but not in Lebanon and the Houthis. And this is why the Lebanese government wanted to have the Hezbollah disarm. Of course, in Yemen, nobody's going to tell the Houthis to disarm because they can't. And Iraq, the government of Mr. Soudani was trying to convince the militias and groups to disarm. It will be a big mistake. And I don't think so they will disarm anyway. And this is the reason why I wanted to highlight to you and bring this analysis to you to put this in perspective regarding the developments that took place inside Yemen. So let me see. I saw a super sticker here that I need to say thank you. Tokyo Homes, much appreciate you. I much appreciate your support for the channel. I'm very, very, very grateful to you for that. John Richard, truly appreciate your support and your super sticker in support of the channel. So I'm very, very grateful to you, John. Much appreciate you for that. This leads me to address briefly my upcoming Asia trip, which is going to be this week. So you will not be seeing me on a regular basis. So as I mentioned, it was a donor. I am not at liberty to disclose the name because I wasn't given the green light to do so. So I am going to respect this one. Suffice it to say, when you look at where and I'm going to share the picture because transparency is a key for me. You all remember we were at about 40%, 47% last week. So you do the math about the donation of this particular individual. Was kind enough, so generous. And here is what's surprising about this particular donor is that it was the same person that donated so much during my first Asia trip. So I just, once again, why am I saying all this? I want just to highlight there are still good people out there. This is not about just I froze when I saw that. It's because it made me think about there's still good people out there. Not everybody is ugly. Not everybody is bad. Not everybody is there. And also to highlight the fact that if somebody can do this for another human being, that means that individual on the receiving end should not forget to pay it forward. Because it's not about just take, it's about give also. And don't ever, guys, think for a second, and I usually don't disclose what I do, and I will never do, because there is no need for that. But also, it's because not only the generosity of individuals like this person who donated substantially in support of my Asia trip, is this the part of the humanity that touched me the most. And I will, of course, pay it forward. So I just want to let you know. So to those who still want to support the channel for the next few days, support the upcoming Asia trip, this is the link should you decide to, and I'm going to put it for you in the chat box. And thank you in advance for that one. So I think I sent the wrong one. Copy. Yeah, I think I sent the wrong one, guys. My apologies. Yeah, it's right here. And for the channel, I have also the link for the channel. If you decide to do that, I'll be very, very grateful. It's like what John just did. And hold on. Yeah, John and Tokyo Homes, those are support for the channel. So I'm very, very, very grateful to you for that. So anyway, I am not going to be doing live the next few days. So you'll be hearing from me once I get to my final destination. And to that end, I want to say thank you very much. And hope to link up with you very, very soon. Once again, as always, remember, geopolitics impacts your daily life in more ways than one. Until next time, bye-bye.